Hello. Welcome to Cheers, Season 1, Episode 19, Pick a Con, Any Con. This episode first aired on February 24th, 1983. It was directed by James Burrows. It was written by Glenn Charles, Les Charles, James Burrows, and David Angel. I hope I pronounced his name right. David Angel, sadly killed with his wife Lynn on 9/11 when the plane they were on hit the World Trade Center in New York City. The guest cast includes Harry Anderson as Harry. Um, Anderson died in 2018 from a stroke. Reed Shelton as George Wheeler, and Shelton also died from a stroke in 1997. Alan Koss as Mike, Stephen D. Lee as Leo, and John Ratzenberger as Cliff Clavin. Cheers is filmed in front of a live studio audience, was said by John Ratzenberger for this episode. In our cold open, Sam tells Diane that she's in a good mood, and Diane said that she's finished reading Kierkegaard. They discuss Coach and George spending time together. Diane says it's nice to see Coach being able to spend time with someone his own age. Sam tells her that it's too bad they're not the same age. Then they debate who's older, and Carla tells them, "Put your glands on hold and get some work done here." Where Everybody Knows Your Name plays. Coach paid George after their card game, and Sam says he didn't know that they play for money. Carla says every day for months. She says that George is a hustler. Coach explains that it's all in fun, and Sam asks him how much fun he's lost. Coach replies about $8,000, but then he explains that was since last February, and Coach cannot believe that he's been hustled. Coach asks Sam if there's anything they can do, and Sam says they should call in Harry the Hat. Sam says both Harry and George are con men, and refers to the line, it takes a, well, he says send a thief. The line is send a thief to catch a thief. So he says send a thief, and Coach replies to camp for the summer. Carla tells him that Harry's in jail. Allergies. Harry comes into the bar. Norm hands him $10, and he says he's going to owe Harry the money in about 5 minutes anyway. I love that little bit there with Harry and Norm, where he's resilient to the fact he's going to lose money and just gives it to him right off the bat. Harry laughs and thanks him. Harry asks Coach where Sam is, then asks Coach if he wants to play him for a drink. Coach says no. Harry looks at Norm and Cliff. Norm says Harry can smell fear. Harry bets Cliff a dime he can drink the shot he put under a hat without touching the hat. He pretends to drink it under the bar, and then when he stands up, Cliff lifts the hat. Harry drinks the shot without touching the hat. Everyone laughs at Cliff. Cliff says that he can do that. Cliff does the same thing that Harry did. While he's pretending to drink under the bar, Harry drinks it and puts the hat back down. Cliff says it's gone, and Harry lifts the hat. He tells Cliff that it was worth the dime. Everyone laughs at Cliff again. Cliff tells them, "At least I got my money back." Coach then tells Cliff that he owes him $5 for the booze. Sam comes out of the office into the bar room and thanks Harry for coming. Sam tells Carla to watch the bar. Diane complains, so he lets Diane watch the bar. Carla orders a Bloody Mary. Diane reads how to make the Bloody Mary from the bartender's guide. She starts reading the history of the Bloody Mary, and Carla yells, "Make the drink!" Harry tells Sam and Coach that George is known as Eddie the Mole. He says Eddie is from Phoenix, where they call him Mole Man or Moley. He also tells them that in Phoenix, sorry, that was Phoenix, in Philadelphia, they call him Sid. And they're like, "Sid?" And he says, "Philly's a dull town." Harry says that Eddie got in trouble in Las Vegas last year and has been laying low. And then he further explains a lot of these guys lay low by making money off of dumb saps. Coach asks where he comes in. Diane interrupts them to find out where the measuring spoons are, and Sam says they don't have any, and Diane is shocked. I was actually kind of surprised at this because later, we'll get to it in a few minutes, but he explains about how they keep the Bloody Mary in the refrigerator. At some point, they had to have made the Bloody Mary, so I'm surprised they don't have measuring spoons, unless he makes it at home, brings it in. But that seems kind of weird. I don't know though. Sam asks what they can do. He's, he Harry suggests a poker game. He tells Coach to call George. He calls George the roper. Sam asks how they will know George will bring in enough money, and Harry says that guys like George always carry a big bankroll to be ready for action at any time. He tells him he is the inside man. He promotes it as a friendly neighborhood game. He also tells Sam he needs $5,000. Sam is upset, but gives in when Coach pleads with him. Sam sees Diane working on making the Bloody Mary, and she tells him that there's a lot of ingredients that go into a Bloody Mary. Sam says that is why they make 5 gallons ahead of time and keep it in the fridge. This is what I was referring to about the measuring spoons, that they do make it there. Which, if you've ever been to the Bull and Finch, which has since been renamed Cheers, in the real one in Boston, that's one of the things is that they make the Blessed Bloody Mary in town. The guys set up for the poker game. Norm clarifies that whatever they lose, they will get back, and Sam confirms. Diane asks to stay and watch. She promises not to ask a bunch of dumb questions, and then she starts asking questions. She explains that she gets nervous, she gets like that. George comes in and says he's heard there's a poker game. He tells him that he hasn't played in years. Norm says he is looking at guys who can't play and chew gum at the same time. Sam invites Harry to play, and George asks Coach to play, but Coach tells him, Gin's my game, which is kind of funny because since February's lost $8,000, so probably he's not too good with gin either. Cliff runs out of money and tries to bet with stamps. Carla tells him you can't do that, so he folds. Norm says he will raise the 50 to 300. George tells him, you're bluffing. Norm agrees, announcing, I'm out. I love how fast it's almost like the whole conceding to Harry as soon as he walks in and give him $5. Sorry, $10. It's kind of like that. We're here again, where George tells him he's bluffing, and he's just like, okay, yeah, I am. He doesn't even try to keep bluffing. Incidentally, having this guy named George and George Went playing Norm is very confusing when they're talking to each other because I feel like I'm miss speaking when I say George, thinking, oh no, his name is Norm. A little confusing on that. So George raises it to $500. Carla says it's too much for her, and she also folds. Harry says, I'm calling you, George. George plays his hand, and Harry plays his. George wins the hand. Sam wants to get out of the game. He says George has most of the money, 2 good cards, and Harry's playing lousy. Norm calls him back over to play cards, and Harry returns to the table. As the night progresses, only Harry and George are left. Sam asks what happened, and Harry says, I lost. Sam says he knows that and asks why Harry didn't cheat. Harry says he tried, but George still won. George is leaving when Coach asks Sam if 4 of a kind beats a straight. Sam says it does, so Coach is confused. Why didn't Harry throw in his 4 3s? Sam stops George and accuses him and Harry of concocting the plan. George denies it, so Sam tries to get the money back. George threatens to tell the police about the poker game. Everyone is for Coach in this except for George. Um, so I'm not sure why this would be an issue because how do you prove there's a poker game? It's not like they had cell phones back in 1983. Um, so even if he had told it, everybody else could have just backed up Sam and nobody would have known. Um, unless I'm missing something here. But it seems that that would be pretty easy to disprove, or I should say, it'd be very hard for George to be able to prove. I mean, I get why they did it, obviously, because you have to keep the episode going. So I get that, but as far as logic, it seems like that should not be an issue. But so he tells him they do tell about the poker game. Sam could lose his liquor license. Sam tells George, "You must have done this before." Coach tells George, "You made a fool out of me, and you can keep my money. It's okay, but I want you to give my friends back their money." George refuses. Coach suggests then that they cut up Harry's share. Sam suggests that George could play Harry again, beat him, and return their money. Coach asks if he can beat Harry again. George says that he can have three queens in his hand at any time. I don't know anything about poker, but I'm assuming a three hand queens is a good thing. But he does say he just needs a sign to know when Harry can't beat that. Coach wants to give the sign since it's his fault, but Sam is concerned. George says that Harry would never think Coach would be in on anything clever. Poor Coach, he's getting beaten up terribly here. I mean, first they made the comment about um he's getting hustled and he doesn't realize that he's being hustled. And then later on, when they're talking to Harry, Harry says a lot of guys lay low by making money off of dumb saps, and Coach doesn't know how that applies to him. So he asks about that, and now he's saying that nobody would expect him to be in anything clever. Poor Coach. So Coach says he will rub his nose as the sign. He says it's the old bunting sign. And for those of you who are not familiar with baseball, bunting is where your baseball bat's kind of held at the side, and the ball basically just hits it. Harry comes from the back and says goodnight. He offers George a ride. George tells Harry, I'm afraid they're on to us, Harry. Harry tries to run, but stops because Norm, Cliff, and Carl are watching him. I had two thoughts on this because they're just watching him. Norm's not exactly a fast mover. Carl is probably the biggest threat. They're all on the same side together, so there's another whole direction he can go. And I mean, the guy comes in from the back and there's no door, so Lord knows he's good at escape routes. So either one, that also makes no sense that he would stop just because they're looking at him because nobody's trying to do anything unless I miss something, or this is a clue that Harry is going to be in on a scam later on because he doesn't try to run. And maybe he's just trying to act like he wants to go but doesn't to throw George off. So, not sure how we go with this one, but I kind of lean towards the second one. I used to lean towards the first till I thought about it, and now I'm kind of leaning towards the second. Harry deals the cards. George says they are playing five-card draw, no limit. Harry tells him ante's a yard. Sam is confused. Diane tells him $100, pay attention. And I love how Diane, who had all the questions before and had no clue, is now telling Sam what's going on. Coach watches Harry. He then itches his nose. He tells George, I scratched my nose because it was itchy. George tells him that he saw. Coach tells him again that it was really itchy. George tells him, that's why you scratched it. Harry says it's a stimulating conversation. Carl announces that it's George's bid. George says he's going. Sorry. George says he's going into his private stash and puts down $1,000. Harry covers it. George plays his three queens. Harry plays four threes. It's interesting because that's what Harry had the last time was four threes. It's interesting. Harry always has four threes. Coach asks George why he made the bet as Harry takes the money. George tells him, because you scratched your nose, you idiot. Coach says he explained why he scratched it. Sam tells Harry he is not allowed in the bar again, and Harry says he won't return. George tells Coach he is a stupid, blundering moron who deserves to lose his money. Now, the other times where they're just kind of teasing was, and Coach doesn't know. I mean, it's mean, but at least Coach didn't really get it. This one's just cruel. Of course, George is also a jerk, so that only makes sense he would say that. George storms out of the bar. Everyone is down, and then Coach starts laughing. Sam asks him what he's laughing at. Coach points down the hallway and says, that. Harry comes out and announces, one born every minute, eh, Coach? Coach and Harry hug. And for those of you who are not familiar with P.T. Barnum or the quote, the one born every minute is a quote by P.T. Barnum, who said that there's a sucker born every minute. Harry gives them back their money. Sam tells Harry that Harry conned George to believe that they were working together, but it was really Harry and Coach. And then at this point, Coach is just like, no, that's not it at all. And Harry's like, no, and he's like, oh yeah, that's exactly it. Diane asks Harry why he didn't let anyone else on the scam. Harry says he didn't think they were bright enough to pull it off. Finally, justice for Coach. He is considered the bright one by Harry. Gotta love that. Harry leaves. Sam asks Diane to play a game of chance. She asks him about the stakes, and he says, if I win, I get to go to bed with you. She asks what if she wins, and he replies, then you get to go to bed with me. She turns him down. Sam replies, I understand. You'd rather earn it. I gave this episode 4 out of 5 beer nuts. The whole Who's Conning Who was very well done. And I've also started a new segment called Best Dressed, which is who had the best costume in the episode. In this episode, Best Dressed Diane Chambers, because I love the purple blouse that she's wearing in this episode. MVP. I try to only give it to main cast members, but this episode I had to give it to Harry Anderson. He was amazing in this episode. In fact, I don't think without him the episode would be that great, as I thought it was, the 4 out of 5. But, I mean, he was phenomenal. It helps because, I mean, obviously, Harry Anderson's a magician, so I'm sure, like, his ability to appear and disappear. Of course, they can also cut some scenes and stuff like that, too, but just everything he does was phenomenal. He was a great actor. I tell you, I was very sad when Harry Anderson died. I loved his show Night Court. I loved watching him on Saturday Night Live when he'd be on there, except for one scene where he's sticking a needle in his arm that kind of freaked me out. I couldn't watch that one. But yeah, Harry Anderson was just an amazing guy. Anyway, favorite line. Harry says, everything's fine. I'm toying with him, giving him a false sense of security. Sam replies, I think you're giving him a genuine sense of security. My runner-up for favorite line. Sam, it's in the cold open. Sam says, you're looking in a good mood, pretty good mood tonight. Diane says, why not? I stayed up till 2 in the morning finishing off Kierkegaard. Sam replies, I hope he thanked you for it. As a kid, when I watched this episode, of course, I did not get why this line was so funny because I didn't know what he meant by, I hoped you thanked him for it. And I didn't even know who Kierkegaard was, so I didn't know what she meant when she said she finished him off. I didn't realize he was an author. But yeah, great line. Here's a little known fact. Speaking of how great Harry Anderson is, Harry Anderson was a professional magician. He toured all over doing comedy magic shows, and he once described himself as being a professional con artist. Question of the week. Have you ever been conned? I thought about asking it the other way. Have you ever conned anyone? But I don't want anybody to incriminate themselves. So, have you ever been conned? If you like this episode, please like, follow, comment on whatever you're listening to. And as always, you can you can join our Facebook group. Cheers, that's one woman's opinion. You can follow us on Instagram at Cheers One Woman's Opinions Podcast. And I now would like to announce also that we have an X, formerly known as Twitter account, and you can follow us at One Woman Opinion on there. And you can email us at cheersonewomanpodcast@gmail.com. And I'd like to remind you all, on Wednesday, July 23rd, there's a special Woody Harrelson birthday movie rewatch of the movie Kingpin. And that's one woman's opinion.